Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the September 5th, 2024 Premarket Prep session. This edition is our Friday Eve edition, which means absolutely nothing special is going on. It's only on the Mondays when we have our, deluxe pre-market prep session where we go over the week ahead. Today we're just going over, specific news for this fine Thursday. Um, and making sure that we stay on the right side of these moves, that we size accordingly, that we continue to take high probability looks, and manage risk, all that good stuff. We've had a few nice trades that worked out for us here this week, and a number of long swings and leaps that we have cooking that are doing well for us as well. So feeling grateful, right? On this fine morning and got Stevie's last vet appointment here, getting her last round of shots. So, as I said in the group, and I'll announce here as well, I will be away from the desk today. So, send me questions. I'll get to them as I can. But just remember, I'm not at the desk. Some might say that that's not a good sign for markets because typically they like to act up when I'm away from the desk. I cannot confirm nor deny. I just know that there is a correlation there in effect, right? So, plan accordingly. But let's dive into what we have going on here today. As always, what are we here to do during this session? Let's go over the news, notes, and analysis that are key to being successful in markets. Sometimes that's just surviving, sometimes that's thriving, but also getting 1% better. So whether you're watching live or via replay, make sure that you comment those ones in the chat, signifying your intention to get 1% better. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get after it just because I'm going to try and, get as much as I can done before I got to get out of here at 9:45 a.m. So our top news, dun 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 dun. It's football time, baby. We're ready for kickoff. I could not be more excited. I don't know what the heck I did with my life when football was off. I don't know, but I'm so excited. I told you guys I'd update you on my fantasy draft. Absolutely crushed it. Very excited for this season. It went exactly like all of my mock drafts. If you guys know me, which you do by now, you know that I am an absolute funnel for information. So whenever I shower, I'm listening to a podcast, listening to YouTube videos. Whenever I run, same thing. Whenever I drive, same thing. Whenever I walk Stevie, same thing, right? If I'm cleaning, I'm taking in information. So took in copious amounts of information, a lot of it having to do with the NFL in this upcoming season. So I'm very excited, very, very, very excited. And tonight we get a little rematch, a little Super Bowl rematch right here, my own home city of Baltimore. Um, it's not happening here. It's happening at Arrowhead, but the Ravens will be involved. Even though I'm a Washington fan, I feel like Ravens are a close second here now. The start of the 2024 NFL season will take place tonight as the reigning Super Bowl LVII champs. I think that's 68. Yeah, Super Bowl 68 champions. The Kansas City Chiefs host the Baltimore Ravens. It's the second straight year in which opening night will take place at Arrowhead Stadium, and it'll also mark a rematch of the prior season's AFC Championship game. Yeah, AFC Championship matchup, not Super Bowl matchup. Football is by far the most popular sport in the U.S., which is having big ramifications for the sports betting market and its publicly traded industry players. Haven't taken a look at DraftKings recently, but maybe, worth taking a look at that. When I say that, I mean literally taking a look, like not going in and investing in DraftKings, right? Everything that happens here are pieces of information that you should use in order to, kind of see maybe where to drive your attention. But it's rare that I will mention something where it's like, oh, yeah, go get this now. Like, that's not at all. It's just like, oh, hey, this might be worth looking at. That does not mean go dump your 401k into DraftKings because the NFL season is starting, right? You want to learn how to read a chart, go in, see what the chart is telling you in terms of who's looking to win that next leg of the battle, on whatever time frame, that battle between buyers and sellers, and then you place a well-educated trade, right, based off of that. But making moves based off of hearsay or bits of pieces of information, all you're going to do is wreck yourself 100%. Might work once, might work twice, won't work 5 times, won't work 10 times. And we want things that will work more often than not. Let's see here. So what's the spread? Sports betting is now legal in 38 states, including newcomers like Maine, Vermont, and North Carolina. Much of the trading is done via smartphone apps of the sports book, now available in the pockets of many Americans everywhere. There's also no league as important as the NFL, especially with increasing bets that extend beyond the outcome of games and into player props, touchdown and yardage bets, and even next team odds. American adults are projected to legally wager $35 billion throughout the NFL season, according to the American Gaming Association, which would represent soaring growth of 30% year over year. Wow, that is significant. Data also shows that public support for the industry continues to grow amid commitments to responsible gaming and consumer protection. Football fans are encouraged to set a budget, keep it social, know the odds, and only play with legal and regulated operators. Yeah, for sure. Don't be one of these people out here getting hooked on DraftKings and FanDuel and putting your family's livelihood at risk. Um, do I gamble in football? Yes. I just recently started last year. Not gonna lie, I was very successful at it. I'm weighing the idea of maybe incorporating some of that into the trading group for those that are interested. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll put out like a poll and see. But I mean, it's just like the stock market. I take in a lot of information, I find my edge, and I work that edge to the bone. And if you've ever played fantasy with me, you know that I'm very data driven. I know a lot of facts. I'm big on like matchups. And I loved fantasy football, or I loved betting on football last year because it was like literally a whole other income that was added, because it was just some of them, just based off of the numbers, are just easy bets to make. That I'm not saying that it's easy to win bets. Of course, there are weekends that it sucked and I lost, but I also know how to manage risk, right? So if you are out here and you are, mashing bet on FanDuel, make sure you set a budget. You don't go over that budget. Um, if you lose, take a break, at least a week. Honor that. If you lose big, if you go and you bet $500 and you lose $500, and you had no business betting $500, then you need to take some time off, right? So this is an exciting time, but don't let it turn into a time in which you get wrapped up and you're in your in too deep, with the FanDuel and the DraftKings. So by the numbers, Bank of America estimates the two platforms control the majority of total money bet across the country, with FanDuel, ticker FLUT, FLUT, at 42% and DraftKings at 34%. The online sports betting handles of small players include a 7% share for BetMGM, 5% for Caesars Sportsbook, and 3% for ESPN Bet, which is owned by Penn. While the latter just launched online sports betting in New York in an expansion push, others are also hoping to boost their national market share, like Fanatics and Rush Street Interactive. So there are a lot of different books, right? FanDuel is owned by Flutter, whose ticker is FLUT, FLUT. DraftKings, ticker DKNG. BetMGM, their ticker is MGM. Caesars Sportsbook, their ticker is CZR. And then ESPN Bet, their ticker is PEN, right? So if you're interested, you can pop in, check out, the charts of these tickers and see what they're looking like. And I literally am saying that as I am like charting DraftKings now. So maybe that's something that, we'll peek into here this morning. Could be fun. All right. Let's keep it pushing here though. Bonds uninverted. U.S. Treasury yields fell across the board on Wednesday. Growth concerns and a softer than expected July openings print lifted bets of a 50 basis point interest rate cut by the Federal Reserve this month. The yield curve between U.S. 10-year and U.S. 2-year briefly normalized for the second time in over 2 years after uninverting last month following 25 consecutive months of inversion. An inverted yield curve is widely seen as a recession indicator, but normalization of the curve is not necessarily a positive sign, as the curve can uninvert before a recession hits. Um, yeah, I don't really see this affecting too much. A softer than expected July openings job print, right? Lifted bets of a 50 basis point cut by the Federal Reserve this month. Um, I don't think that like they take the yield curve, like the yield curve inversion and this and that, in it uninverting, well, however briefly does one or the other. I don't think that's a major concern of the Fed, right? I think as we continue to near this next meeting in the middle of this month, data that comes out will be very significant. But I think all eyes are really just going to be on whether or not it's a 50 basis point cut. I'm starting to lean towards that just based off of the rhetoric that the Fed has said. I think it would be disappointing if it was a 25 basis point cut. I think 50 is now widely priced in, and that's kind of where I'm leaning as well. As you go into rate cuts, it kind of varies as to what price action you can get. Typically, after you get a rate cut, the market goes up a few percent on average in the 25 days that follow. Sometimes it's only gone up one day, sometimes it's gone up a little bit over a month, but on average, it goes up for those next 25 days on average. And then after that, typically there's significant selling that takes place right over the course of the longer term from there. So make sure that you are aware of that, that you're positioning for that, that you are, ready for that. And if you're not, lock in with me, Adam at adamhollandeducates.com. But whether or not you are prepared, the market will continue to make moves that can make you money, whether they're up and down, because stock options can pay you both ways, which is what makes them the most beautiful financial tool in any market. M&A news, security risk. There's more drama enveloping the American steel industry. The Biden administration has reportedly concluded that nearly the $15 billion sale of U.S. Steel, whose ticker is X, to Nippon Steel would pose a national security risk that can't be mitigated by either company. U.S. Steel insisted that there were no such issues, outlining that it would pursue all possible options under the law to ensure that this transaction closes, but its stock plummeted nearly 18% on the news. CEO David Burritt also announced that the firm would close steel mills and move its HQ out of Pittsburgh if the deal collapses. Now, regulation news here, COVID era curbs. Singapore has announced that the close contacts of suspected monkeypox cases would be quarantined for a period of 3 weeks as the city state takes up preventative measures to minimize the spread of the virus. Apart from this, Singaporean authorities have also put in place temperature and visual screening at airports and sea checkpoints. Wow, they're really turning up for this. World Health Organization declared monkeypox as a global health emergency in mid-August following the appearance of the more lethal Clade 1 strain of Mpox virus. In terms of today's markets, mixed bag in Asia, Japan down 1.1%, Hong Kong down 0.1%, China up 0.1%, India down 0.2%, the FTSE in London down 0.1%, Paris down 0.7%, Frankfurt up 0.2%, Dow flat, S&P flat. I'm glad that they just started calling it flat because they put in here up 0.04%, but they said Dow flat at up 0.04%. And then the NASDAQ down 0.1%, crude up 0.6%, gold up 0.8%, Bitcoin up 0.6%. Got jobless claims data today at 8:30 a.m. We have a few pieces of data that drop after the bell, PMI composite final, and then ISM service index. So we have two pieces of information, two pieces of data here that we get after the bell. So make sure that you're aware of that, right? You have that factored into your expectations. And that, we could see some chop until 9:45, 10, and then we could see some volatility right at 9:45 a.m. and then at 10 a.m. What else is happening? Verizon, ticker VZ, scoops up Frontier Communications, ticker FYBR for $20 billion. Golf spinoff, Top Golf Callaway, ticker MODG, splits into separate businesses. Jeep Wranglers and Grand Cherokees taken off the assembly line. C3 AI plummets as guidance for full year misses expectations. Harris calls for 28% capital gains tax, topping Biden's plan. NVIDIA says it did not receive DOJ subpoena despite reports. Wow, so they're saying they didn't get it. And that was like the overwhelming headline a few days ago. Dollar Tree, ticker DLTR, falls off a cliff after weak guidance. Falls off a cliff. Nordstrom family offers to buy department store chain for $3.8 billion. Consumer Product Safety Commission inquires into Shein and Temu. And then firearms sector, 4 dead, 9 injured in Georgia high school shooting. Sad that school literally just got in session last week and we already, are having our first school shooting. Absolutely just abysmal. And I just hope we as a country can do better. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not a politician in terms of like the road to getting there, but just sad that we still have to deal with this. Anyways, though, listen, on a lighter note, I'm excited for what the market has for us today and what it has for us, the rest of this week. Let's continue to push further, push higher, grind, get 1% better daily, and close the gap between where we are and where we want to be. There's still plenty of opportunity here, but make sure that you're patient. Don't, overwork anything if it's not time to work it. Again, we've been chopping around in the same range for like 2 weeks. I get that this might be the time where you feel like throwing all the money you have into the market, but this is not the time to do that. So make sure that you're not doing that, right? That you're operating in patience, that you're getting a little bit better each and every day. So shout out to the Ravens and the Chiefs kicking off the NFL season tonight. I believe that's at 8 something, so we'll still have Q&A. I'm excited for that as well. I'll see you guys, back here for my people in the group at 7 p.m. for Q&A. Let's make it a great session. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. I'll see you here tomorrow too on YouTube for our last Premarket Prep session of the week. Peace.